Yes, you're welcome back, and we're getting started this morning. The first topic we want to take a look at, the issue we want to address this morning, is the question over 2013 budget. Well, 2013 budget was presented to the House sometime last year, and the Senate, it was presented to the National Assembly. So the Senate and the House of Rep, they sat, they reviewed it,
tinkered with it.
They tinkered with it as much as they possibly can. And the key issues that came out of that was the fact that, one, the federal government proposed a budget of, I'm trying to remember exactly,
4.9 trillion.
4.9 trillion. 4.92 trillion, and the lawmakers said, well, there is a need for them to be able to carry out their constituency project, which a senior advocate of Nigeria who came on Channels Television recently said it is illegal, it is unconstitutional, but they did add that to the budget and said the president must sign it. And then two, they said very clearly that Aruma Ote must go, and we've just been discussing that here, and that she has to go, but if she doesn't go, there will be no budget for Security Exchange Commission, SEC. And this is a powerful institution in business as far as Nigeria is concerned, and it's being shortchanged because of one individual. And then finally, they said that the federal government must make sure that they increase the benchmark for how much we put in the budget as far as oil price is concerned. These three key issues caused the delay. Now the president has assented to it. He has signed it into law. And it was said, according to Dr. Reuben Abati, in the press release which he issued after the signing by the president, it's been said that there's going to be continuous consultation and discussion with the National Assembly to make sure that this budget works for Nigeria. So let's discuss this. And to discuss with us this morning, my immediate left, we've got Martin Udogie, who is a publisher and broadcast journalist and presenter. Martin Udogie, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Kayode.
Yes.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Good to have you here. And then sitting next to him is Eghes, Eyienyen, who's a financial consultant. Good morning.
Good morning, Kayode. Good morning, Alero.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Then on my right hand side, we've got Odilim Enwegbara, who's also a financial analyst. Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Let me start with you, Odilim. When you look at the budget that has been signed, let's take the issues one by one. Let's break it down. Let's start with the importance of the Securities Exchange Commission. The House of Rep has clearly stated that there is no way they will allow any money to be appropriated to that body because they insist Aruma Ote must go. How do we begin to have an organization of that nature that has no budget, and yet the budget 2013 has been signed into law by the federal government?
Thank you for the question. Even though it shouldn't have been the most important issue to discuss, because Nigeria is bigger than one agency and is bigger than one person. I think that if you look at the Aruma Ote versus the House, which was March last year and dragged till June when Aruma eventually won, in the sense that she was restored back by the president. There were certain mistakes made by both sides. The House made some mistakes by going to collect, or alleged to have collected money from the agency, from the commission. And also Aruma, who is a very smart lady, made her own mistakes by just accusing the House of being corrupt. You see, the House is an institution. When you accuse one person in the house to be corrupt in such a way that you belittle the institution. So I think that at the end of the day, we get down to the point of, I don't think it will be resolved as the way we are looking at it, because, of course, unless Aruma goes to apologize to the House.
Okay, before we even talk about Aruma or no Aruma or Tay in this issue, how do we expect Securities and Exchange Commission to perform if the
budget
the
engine room of the economy? Do you know that is where people go and raise all the capital they need?
Yes.
It will not. It will drag the so-called confidence the commission is having, the stock exchange is having. It's actually no confidence. What I mean no confidence, because Nigeria economy, whether you like it or not, has it gives a lot of advantage to foreign portfolio investors because of a lot of arbitrage. Our interest rate is high. Capital gain tax doesn't exist, and the entry, operation, and exit, there are no laws guiding them. So you just come in, take advantage of the system, and walk out with your money as quickly as possible. So the so-called confidence is because that the rules are weak. And moreover, let me tell you what people don't know that is happening to the Nigerian economy, the so-called growth. Our economy is not growing. What is happening that foreigners, remember what happened to the United States in the 90s? The Chinese were exporting to China and giving their profit to China, to America, to sustain the American economy, so that America continued importing because the dollar was highly valued. So you see the advantage of importing. What is happening to Nigeria now is that the same exporters to Nigeria are funding the economy with dumping a lot of dollars into the economy, so to strengthen the value of the naira, so we continue importing their goods.
Okay, Mr. Enwegbara, you said that what happened between Aruma Ote and the National Assembly amounted to her belittling the National Assembly.
Yes, to some extent.
Because she accused one or two persons of being corrupt.
Yes.
Are you therefore saying that she should have looked the other way?
No, I'm not saying
recall, this is not the first time that the National Assembly is being caught in this kind of situation.
No. Let me tell you.
One or two cases are still in court.
No, my sister. Let's be realistic. You see, one thing I like about some great men is that it's not every battle you fight. That battle, you see, you look at the big picture. Now, what is called looking at the big picture and ignore certain things, because that's somewhere you are going. If you are going somewhere and start looking sideways, you can be distracted. I know Aruma very well. I'm telling you the truth. And I know she meant well for the country. She's smart and she has a great integrity. But there's certain things, for the bigger picture you are pursuing, you overlook them for the time being. Even Abraham Lincoln said, when he was fighting war, he said, this war I'm fighting is because of the bigger picture of America. In the process, I'm ready to compromise certain things if this is what we ensure that the bigger picture of America goes on. That's what is called bigger picture. Do you understand what I mean? When you go to issues that can now cause some distractions. Exactly. Okay. So distraction. That is where I'm coming from.
All right. Okay. I guess let's look at the area of the National Assembly actually increasing the budget that was sent to them, which I understand from what Kayode said earlier, has been described as illegal. What are your thoughts on that?
If you permit me, let me just start by chipping in something about this
regarding SEC.
Issue. Okay. I think it's very unfortunate when we personalize issues in this nation and a whole institution as important as the Securities and Exchange Commission has its budget not approved. There's no budget for the SEC merely because of who the Director General is. While I have personal concerns about her leadership and even her competence to run the SEC, I think it is petty for the National Assembly to say they will not pass the SEC budget because of Aruma Ote. Because the SEC is not Aruma Ote. It's an institution of its own. It's a government institution. How can you say you will not pass the organization's budget because you don't like who the head is? This issue of, and I think that sometimes the National Assembly does overreach itself, not understanding what his role is and where his place is. Because they keep on coming up with this idea of getting the president to sack somebody or forcing the executive to remove somebody from office. Look, the role of the legislature is very different from the role of the executive. You cannot, the president has the one, the law is very clear as who has the prerogative to appoint, make those appointments, and you can't force him to remove whoever. You can make a recommendation, of course, you can give some advice, but because we've seen a lot of this happen. We saw it in the case of Bola Onogoruwa, where the Senate insisted that Bola Onogoruwa should be moved at the head of the BP. We've seen it in the case of Arum Nawote, and even the Mena case. Of course, I mean, we know there's some criminal issues there, but the National Assembly must understand that it cannot usurp the role of the executive arm of government. Having said that, now to your question, now this issue of the National Assembly, we have this tendency. The National Assembly has this tendency of thinking that we possibly have an inexhaustible resource base, such that you can add 69 billion or 60, to the budget because you have what you call constituency projects. My question is, since 1999 we've been hearing about this issue of constituency projects. My own constituency.
Which one have you seen?
I've not seen any where I live in Lagos here and where I'm from in Edo State. There's no proof that there's such a constituency project. And actually, I want to say that is it responsible for the National Assembly to without understanding, I mean, reference to the realities, the fundamentals of how the budget process and the issues that come into the budget, you add money to it, and okay, let's go. It is irresponsible. Now, and I think that it also compromises their role as supervisors and their oversight function over the executive, where they get interested, where they get involved in decide, okay, come and put these projects in my constituency, and then some of them even get involved in trying to influence who the contractor is and all those kind of things. It undermines the National Assembly, and I think that it's unfortunate that we have a situation where, sometimes you wonder whether it is the same party, the PDP, that is in control of the executive and the National Assembly in terms of the leadership of National Assembly, because you get this impression that you have an opposition party at work. So this is unfortunate, and I think that the nation has been unduly held to ransom because of this this tough war, which is unnecessary. Of course, one must also look at the executive side and lay blame, because, for instance, the budgeting process and even unfortunately, when you even look at the budget details, this 2013, but you can fault some of the figures you are seeing. I mean, why do you need 7 billion naira or so to build 2 gates or city gates for the FCT? If you go to that budget in detail, you wonder. The Minister of Finance had said when she assumed office that her priority would be to ensure budget discipline and fiscal discipline. And I wonder whether she took her comb and went through that budget, as thoroughly as you might have expected, because there are things you see that, but you wonder, what is this about? So we are not seeing the kind of budget we still expect. A budget that is focused, a budget that is streamlined in the realities of our economic situation and where we want our priorities to be. Which is the developmental issues. He's mentioned the issue of whether Nigeria. We are not going to want to go into the controversy of whether Nigerian economy is growing or not, because if you look at how the measurement of growth, GDP growth, is calculated, indeed, Nigeria. I mean, all agencies, United Nations, the World Bank, the IMF, and all multilateral institutions and economic agencies, even the private think tanks, have confirmed that we have experienced growth. The issue is growth without. What people say, growth without development or growth without employment. So we cannot just say that the Nigerian economy is not growing. You can contest whether the person on the street is feeling the impact of the growth, because or whether the life of the average Nigerian is better for it. But I would take issues with just dismissing the fact that there's no growth in the Nigerian economy, because it has been established by all economic indices.